Frontend, roadmap to becoming a front-end developer. If that's what you are here for, you are on the right place. Hello guys, this is Sam and welcome back on another video. Today we have guest Kshitija, whom we fondly call as KS, who has almost close to 7 years of experience in front-end development, have transitioned from service-based to product-based and doing so well at what she does. So KS, straight away diving into the actual content of today's. So, what has sparked you to become a front-end developer, and what was your initial journey? Just to be brief and quick on your sweet journey, and what has changed over these close to 7 years of you being a front-end developer?
Firstly, thank you for having me here. Thank you for considering me worthy of guiding someone. Yeah, so coming back to your question, like you already mentioned, I started off my career back in 2018 when I graduated like everybody else. I got placed in a service company where we had a regular training where they teach you bits and pieces of everything. And then, so there you don't have much of a choice on what you
like to do.
Yeah, it's not about it's also what domain you're interested in and things like that. You're randomly placed in different groups. Okay. So we had development, we had testing groups, and then we had integration groups. So I was in the development group. So mostly I was into ERP development domain. That is, we were mostly using SAP ABAP and SAP UI5.
Okay.
So initially it started off for first few tasks were mostly on ABAP. So in ABAP it's mostly like you write a lot of code, you do a lot of things. It's a back-end language, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end you get to validate things. But
yeah.
then
For people who do not know what is ABAP, that is a back-end framework where they write back-end code for mostly on-premise solutions. Yeah.
Solutions. It's ECC or S4 for both of that we use it. But now we have it on cloud as well, in a little bit of a different flavor. That also we do have. And after that, after a couple of tasks, I was given something on SAP UI5. So SAP UI5 is a library. At that time, to be very honest, I was also new and I did not exactly know what is the difference between a front end and a back end. All we knew was, okay, in college you write programs to solve some small problems, right? You don't do something in such a big stature.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So even we were of that mindset only. When this task came to me, and I was like, yeah. So like everybody else who is new, you're always open to learning. You always want to prove yourself to that you're worthy of people's time and all those things. It's like a regular fresher behavior. So
that should be your mindset also.
Yeah, always and something that
having curiosity to learn new.
Correct. And over the years, something that I've learned is you should never let go of that. How much ever you grow in your career and how much ever experience you have, you should always have that, and that always takes you ahead every time. So that is something. So when I started off with SAP UFI, the problem was it is a licensed library at that point. Okay. We had trial versions to try and stuff, but then it was still licensed, but we could still try. The things that actually fascinated me at that point in time was for people who do not know ABAP, so it is a licensed product, a licensed framework and a licensed tech stack, right? So if customers purchase SAP and they have done the implementation and stuff, only then you get access to this.
Okay.
And even when you join a company, it's not like you can go at your home and try in your laptop all these things.
So it's a sophisticated environment.
Yeah. Exactly. So in your office laptop, it will be there installed, and then with all the properties and other things set, and you will have a user. And that is also like at that time it used to be shared also among some people. So all these things were there. But then when UI5 came, right, I had a trial. That time it was called SAP Cloud Platform and not BTP. Okay. So we had a Neo trial version all for myself so that I can go home. And at that time we did not have laptops. It was desktop. Okay. So if I go home, I have to use my personal laptop. So in that also I could open and I could write. That is something that encouraged me to do more in this area. Okay. Because even in my free time, I could explore on this. And then the fun part was in UI5 or any front-end tech for that matter, right? at least visual things, when you change a little bit, you get to see it.
See, yeah.
And you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
So that is something that sparked the interest in me. And also, one more edge that I got was, at that time in our company, we did not have a lot of UI resources. So resources were also less. And we didn't have a conventional training or something where people thought this is ABCD and then you go. That was not the case. And also, we had a lot of templates and a few blogs which we could refer to do the task. So this is how it started.
Okay.
And I contributed to some small tasks and things. During COVID, actually, what happened was, I knew this senior from my college, so we met through a placement. So what he told was, he was starting a morning JavaScript batch. Okay, and he had invited 4-5 people because he was also very new to this teaching space. So he wanted to try it out, and he thought it will be helpful. And at that time, he also thought it will help himself as well. So that is why he asked, if you want to join, you can join. So that batch was already there, and then I joined. But then since I joined and it was not very late, right, they started afresh. Then he started teaching JavaScript. Okay. Till then, I knew UI5, HTML and CSS a little bit, like every college student knows. And I was already contributing in UI5 projects. But then there were a lot of open questions, like why this is happening, which we didn't know, because UI5 is something that is written on top of JavaScript, and it is a library, which is designed and developed to make your job easy. Right?
Yeah.
So you don't know you have a lot of whys in your head. First thing is, you do not have time sometimes because you have too many tasks. So you don't dive deep into it. But then, when I started understanding and learning JavaScript, a lot of whys were answered in the first place.
Okay.
Right. So because you know the foundational thing.
Yeah.
So I went.
This is also one of
Correct.
the important input to the viewers. When you have whys, get your whys answered.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
you will be strong and bold enough, and then you will have that curiosity to learn and then continue in the journey.
Yes, rightly said.
Yeah.
So these whys were answered, and then I got more curious, and then he also introduced us to this. There's this website, Edabit.
Okay.
It is like your lead code and code chef and other things which you use for DSA problem solving, right? So this has various levels of questions, like from very easy to expert difficult level ones, and there are a lot of languages which you can choose from.
Is it still there?
It is there.
Can you mention this so that they know, then they can practice?
Yeah, it is like lead code only. So edabit.com, I think you can add it.
I will add that in the description. You can just check it out, guys, and practice there.
Yeah. So there were very small problems. So since he was teaching us these things, it was I'm actually very grateful to the guy.
Okay.
He taught us a lot of things. And then he also showed us, and then there were some points that gets added up, and there's a big circle that happens. It also shows your progress, how consistent you are, and things like that. It's a very nice UI. And then from there, we started solving small things. Till then, UI for very small tasks I had done. I had not done something totally, a complete project or something.
Because anything from scratch.
So, but this, after that, I just got better and better in JavaScript, because COVID, every morning 6 o'clock I open the laptop and I sit with them for that 1 hour.
Okay.
We discuss, and then after that you go on with your routine and work, and then come back, and it was the same thing. And there were a lot of people, so we used to have discussions and stuff. And after every concept there would be something like this. We go and solve in places, because in that Edabit you can also select the concept, like, do you want questions based on arrays or objects, things like that. So we were doing that. So it was all fun. We got a lot of learning, and then I thought I should take SAP UI5 pretty seriously as a career, because at that time I was doing everything. So I've also done chatbot developments at that time. So it was like, you're a fresher, and then there are a lot of things open. And like my first company, it's Quinox, by the way. It's a very, very nice place. I actually got to explore into a lot of technologies, lot of things. So it was mostly like I had not decided what to do till then. It was mostly I was doing this and that and everything. And it's like, you know everything, but you don't know anything. You're not an expert in anything. It's like that. You just know.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
So it is like that. So after that, what happened? I decided, okay, I have to do something with UFI. I also approached my mentors at work, and I told I really want to do this. And then what I did was, they were very supportive. They were okay. Like they told, we will just. And then I got the link of this documentation of SAP UI5, and then I went through. Initially, it was a little bit of a struggle because at that time, the people, usually if it is an open source library, the community will be larger than the community that you have for
closed
one, right? For the licensed product, the community is a little small. So at that time there were a lot of things. In order to understand things only, it was a struggle. And then slowly I was able to get a hang of it. The first thing I did after I understood various concepts on the documentation was, I went to this Google Play Store randomly and just searched for SAP. So we have a lot of apps that are published by SAP SC. You see it 2, 3. I think it was field service management was one, and then work list or something like that. There was another work management or something like that. Functionally, I had zero clue what these things did. But since I was in a ERP development role already, and I knew that these apps are definitely developed using SAP UI5. Because not all UIs you see are from a particular library. They use different. There are a lot of them, right? So you have a lot of open source libraries too. So I went and I downloaded these two in my phone. Then I thought, okay, I could identify some controls, which I've already done. Like, okay, this one is this. That is when I started exploring and tried to clone these two things so that I can become better at what I was doing. I had these hard-coded sample data from JSON, which I had loaded. I developed these two apps. I was very excited. I showed it to people at work and they were also very happy because someone else, I mean, it was very new to everybody. And then we did it. And then after that, after these two projects, I felt that SAP UI5 at least has predefined themes, right? I think you already know.
Yes.
So we don't, we have, it is specific for business and users,
and it
right?
has all the boilerplate codes.
Correct.
That you need to already, and then just import and then can use it.
So, and then we already have themes. You just have to say theme is SAP Villa and it's done. So it's like that. But I somehow felt that we have an option for custom CSS also. And then let's make it a little colorful and all. That was the toughest task I have done ever in my development career because you have to override what they are giving standardly. At that time, I did not know we have easier ways to do it. We have theme builders. At that time, you don't know that, right? So then I was like, let's try and do this. And I started doing it. It took me a lot of time to change the color. And then I was like, which color to choose? That was I was confused. Then I was like, Facebook has blue and white, so let's choose the blue and white. I went, took a color picker and then took that code.
Color code.
And then I made sure that it looked exactly like that.
The way you wanted.
Way I wanted. And I made it as this incident management tool I did. Actually, my mentor gave that as an initial task for me, and we had implemented it in ABAP.
Okay.
So the same thing I took and I did it here. And then I showed it to him telling this is what I did, but then I have not integrated it with the backend and all, but this is how it will look and the screens and all. I was very happy. At that time we had a client coming in and we had to do a POC. So he told, why don't you do it? Then I did it, we landed the project, and that is how it started. After that, I'm a full-time front-end developer. Primarily, I'm a front-end developer. I chose my path and then I started working towards it. I did not take a straightforward route here, because of which I got to know what should ideally be the case, like how you are supposed to start off learning.
That is the case for most of us. I think even for people who are watching. A lot of experience that is shared is how most of you find your way. So if you have followed through the conversation, you would know the way she landed up to be becoming a front-end developer. Even if you are in such positions, this is how even you would find your way back. And from what I understood from the conversation we had is, if you are someone visual person who is inclined towards visuals, then front-end careers would suit you. If you have this big question mark, this is an answer.
So that's how it was. And over the 7 years, coming to the second part of what you asked, over the 7 years, a lot of changes has happened, a lot of advancements has happened, and for now, with all the AI talks that we have, there are a lot of things that we are doing in combination with AI, so that our developer productivity will also increase,
Yeah.
and we will deliver more in less time. That is where we are headed. So we also have a lot of low code and no code platforms to create web applications and websites. So all these things are there, and it's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to second question. What are the languages or frameworks that a new front-end developer or someone who is aspiring to become front-end developer should focus on?
That's a very good question. So, yeah, so these aspirations might be based on the things that you might have heard or experienced, or your natural inclination towards visuals and creativity, like you have already mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So, something that I would say is, for any development role, be it front end or back end or anything in DevOps space or integration space, the basics of programming would really help always.
Okay.
So, if you are
Basics.
yeah, always. So, I mean, what is the approach that you take to solve a problem in programming? And very simple concepts like your loops, variables, all these kind of things.
Okay.
It is very easy. It is not that difficult. But if you know that, then it will help. And once you are a little bit familiar with basics, then you can go with HTML.
Okay.
HTML is wonderful. HTML is like the template. So it is like, it's the foundation mostly, right? So you are like building the wall.
Yeah.
It's mostly like that. And then after that, you can learn CSS, where you just try to enhance the look of whatever you are building, right? So I have a button, how it should look. What are the different colors? Based on various things.
Yeah.
And these references, we don't have to think too much to create this, because we are in a digital age, right?
Yes.
And we, on a daily basis, use a lot of applications, and it will be very easy for you to pick things from there. And then after that, JavaScript is the most important one. But
mostly widely used.
Yeah, widely used, and also it has decades of history.
Yeah.
So it's been around for, I think, close to 30 years now. So it is evolved. There are a lot of resources, lot of versions have come up and all those things. The language has a history, and it's compatible in many browsers and things.
Okay.
So it is really something that is necessary for us. And JavaScript is used to put life to any of the web application developments that you do, web or mobile applications or anything that you do, right?
Yes.
So if user interaction should be there, then JavaScript should be there. You cannot do it without that. But the order probably would be with HTML and CSS, so that you gain some confidence in writing things, and then maybe you can go to JavaScript. Once you're thorough, then you can go ahead and see what different frameworks are there, or what kind of libraries are there. There are a lot of open source libraries. So JavaScript is something that you can just start off without any pre-preparation. It's like that. There's this site, JavaScript Info. I think that also can be included.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so there you have a very structured way of learning JavaScript from the beginning, from the basics to till how much it is necessary for a professional application development, right? That is there. Okay. So if once you know this, then you have a lot of open source frameworks and libraries. So we have React, which is very popular. I think if you're aspiring, you might have already heard of it. And other than that, you have Angular, you have Vue, you have UI5. There were a lot of things. There's an open source version of UI5 too, which is called Open UI5. So you can learn that. There are a lot of things. And then once your basics are through, then it is easy for you to learn other frameworks.
Yeah, it's always easy once you know the one and only JavaScript.
Yeah, once you
to learn
know
all
that,
the most of the frameworks, front-end frameworks.
Yeah. At least like if you're in service companies, so it is not like the entire company will use only React or UI5. That's not how it is. Okay. In every project, you'll have a different framework. So once your basics are strong, right, you will not struggle much in understanding a new library. It is just a matter of practicing it for few weeks, and then you'll all be good.
Okay. So now, do you recommend any courses or any online courses, YouTube videos, or any other sources that might help the beginners?
There are a lot of beginner friendly courses from a lot of Indian YouTubers and also people outside India. There's a lot of content, and I understand it becomes really difficult for you to pick like whom to
which one
to
choose?
talk to. It always depends which course you require. Always depends on which level you are in. Like, are you an absolute beginner, or do you have some familiarity? Based on that, we do the picking.
Okay.
So my favorite YouTuber is Akshay Saini. So you might have heard of him.
Mhm.
So he has done a lot of videos on JavaScript. So his is mostly concept based. So something like JavaScript info was the starting point for me. So that what happened was you read through a lot of concepts, and sometimes you don't understand a particular concept. So let's just say that they're talking about promise, or they're talking about event loop, something like that, right? So then if you don't understand that particular concept, then you can go and search specifically for that, so that you will get concrete information just on that. If you are already working for a company, then the company would already have their own courses. So you can go for any of it. And one more thing, the best way to learn after listening to all these things is also to talk to someone who is doing it.
Yes, because she's doing it, that's why she's talking about it. And I think that's benefiting you already.
So it's mostly like that, your network and whom you connect with, like who's already in the industry, right? That will actually benefit you. You would have someone like your senior from college, your cousin, or you can randomly talk to people on LinkedIn too. They respond. At least I respond if I get any messages, mostly. Then if something is relevant,
then I have the privilege of adding KS LinkedIn profile in the description, so that you can have establish a connection and then have the conversation there.
At least like even I have had conversations with people whenever I was in distress, and I thought that I should reach out to someone, and people have been kind enough to respond and guide me through it, and that is the reason we're trying just to follow what people have done to us.
When we are in the square one, it's always a lot of thoughts. We think about a lot and then worry about a lot. When those worries questions are answered, we feel confident. I think that's a very good thought, and then case is always there to do for you.
If not me, there are also a lot of people who would like. There are. I mean, it's always that you just have to ask.
Yes.
That's the first step.
Okay. So now, if they're already into it and then they're trying to build something and then showcase to the world and then see they are worthy of becoming a front-end developer, how should their portfolio look? What are the projects that you would recommend them to build, so that as soon as the resume is being presented to the recruiters, they say, wow, this is someone that we are interested in. What kind of portfolio projects you would recommend to the viewers?
Portfolio projects again are very, very subjective, based on what your target is. So for example, I was in a ERP development space, and that was the reason I chose to clone something from SAP SC, so that it looks very relevant, and that is why it worked for me. So if you're an absolute beginner and someone in college, or someone who is trying to transition in things, so now, like I already mentioned, it's a digital era. So there are a lot of applications. Choose any application that you like, so you feel that you are fond of, right? Not something too complex, day-to-day stuff, like an e-commerce website or a messaging platform, or things like that. Something that excites you and interests you. So you can just choose it, and also like there are ways to know like what frameworks would have been already used to develop this, so that you can take that as a reference and do it. This is one way. And if you feel that okay, there are a lot of people and everybody might clone YouTube, let's just say, for example, right? You might want to stand out, right? In that case, we have something called as Behance. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It is a UX design platform. It is a community. So usually what happens is a lot of designers who are in the industry, and the ones who are aspiring to be in the industry, they usually have their designs.
Have their designs there in the platform.
In that platform. So it is mostly like they will be asking reviews from other designers and things like that. So from there you can get some ideas, some designs also.
Okay.
Obviously you cannot monetize it,
Yeah.
but
I mean, of course, you can
yeah,
take
you
it
can-
and implement it. You can show it
yeah,
on the
you
resume
can just
for your
take
personal
it
purpose.
as a reference,
Mm.
and maybe try to build on
Build
top
up.
of it. Or if you actually have an idea of your own, that's even more, it's an added advantage.
Yes.
Yeah, so as soon as they look, it's mostly the UI, so that is the thing. But apart from that also, there are a lot of other things that goes into this, right?
Mm.
So you can highlight those points
That's
so
true.
that you'll have better chances.
Okay. So the simple things, guys, don't complicate things. Just pick something and build.
Yeah.
That's all. Because if you're building, then you are that. You will come into that 5 or 10% category of people who are actually getting their hands dirty and then building it.
Yes.
So that's how you get shortlisted for your interview or whatever. Now, in the world of front-end development, what are the most common challenges that front-end developers face and how to overcome them? So, being a beginners, people who's watching can avoid and then they can increase their productivity.
Okay. Common challenges, there are a lot of them.
Okay.
If it is targeted to the people who are starting,
Yeah,
so people struggle a lot
Yeah.
with CSS.
Okay.
I have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very simple and unimportant, but then it is actually, so again, the same thing, back to the basics, you look from there.
Yeah, I too have a question on CSS. I will go to her and ask tomorrow. I'm sure I'll come to you with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one thing. So CSS is a little bit challenging aspect.
Mm.
And then apart from that, CSS also something to overcome in that angle. First thing is, nowadays at least, you already have a lot of UI component libraries available.
Okay.
So you can pick the one that is right for you.
Mm.
And then now we have something called as Tailwind CSS. Slowly people are adopting, a lot of companies are already using
What is that?
Tailwind CSS. So
Tailwind CSS.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is also a library that is written on top of CSS.
Mm.
It makes your task easy.
CSS task
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, to write.
Mm.
I would not go into too much of
Yeah.
details
Yes, okay.
into it. So like that only, there are a lot of things. Bootstrap was something that was very, very famous. And then you have Design and you have Material UI. There are a lot of things that you can actually use.
Use.
And also one more thing is, like, if you have a designer in place, then they would mostly use the UI component library that the company is preferring.
Mm.
And a lot of companies have their own UI component libraries too, which
Yeah.
is there.
Okay.
So that should not be a problem. But for beginners, you are not having access to these information, right?
Yeah,
so
so
you would go with vanilla JavaScript,
JavaScript.
HTML, and
Mm.
CSS. At that time, that is something that could be challenging. Also, there is another interesting website. I'm not sure if they're still up and running.
Okay.
6 years back it was.
Okay.
So the website name is CSS Battle. So they have these CSS challenges that they keep giving every day.
Okay.
So I have solved them.
Mm-hmm.
That is also interesting. That also helps because they'll have these colorful figures and you have to write the CSS for that. And
Oh.
CSS and the HTML part, no JavaScript in it. So some animation and other things that will also help you improve your CSS skill. That is one
Okay.
thing. Apart from that, we also have a very interesting concept of accessibility.
Mm.
I don't know, like how many people are familiar with this.
Maybe beginners, would they face this issue?
They wouldn't face this issue, but then
Maybe
it's a
it
good
depends
to
on
know
what
thing.
kind of company or
Correct.
place they going to work.
Also that-
Because I am working on accessibility issue.
Yes. It's also
So it
the
depends, yeah.
companies, not just the companies, actually most of the products, right? So we have set of product standards that we're supposed to follow.
Mhm.
So accessibility is actually a very important one.
Yeah.
It depends on,
True. Very, very true.
yeah, it depends on on your target users also.
Mhm.
So your application has to be accessible.
Yes.
That is end of the day our goal,
Yeah.
right? So why I am talking about this specifically for the beginners is, as a beginner, I didn't know a concept like this existed until I started working on SAP's project, to be honest.
Okay.
Because otherwise we develop applications very specific to one customer and we know the target audience. It's mostly like that.
Okay.
We don't build it for variety of people, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So, and then to avoid accessibility issues, what you have to do are also like very simple things. If you start in the foundational level,
Okay.
yeah. So MDN, again, if I have forgot to mention before,
Mm-hmm.
that is the official documentation that we have for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Okay.
It's beautiful, amazing.
Mhm.
There is everything that you need.
Okay.
I don't think you should search anywhere else. Like if you have an issue with specific to one method or a control or a property or anything, you should go, and MDN is the only thing that you can rely on.
Okay.
It
I would rely on too.
Yeah.
Hereafter.
Yeah. And also one more thing is, interestingly, we have a lot of browsers, right? Mostly we use Chromes, but then we have Firefox, Edge, other
Safari.
things, Safari, and other browsers that we have. So MDN also has this compatibility chart below
Okay.
that says, so this feature is compatible in Chrome, probably not in others.
Okay.
So
So
that
you
is
already know.
Yeah, you
prior.
already know before developing only.
Mm.
And accessibility standards are also there. Each property, what it does exactly, all these things are beautifully written.
Okay.
And I think I mean, the first skill is to understand the documentation.
Mm.
And for that, you should constantly, because we have a myth in the industry usually that documentation is very difficult to understand. That is what people think whenever they start things. So we mostly go for a summarized information elsewhere in some blog or something. But most of the times, if you're in a serious trouble, documentation is the answer. Most of the things will be in documentation. The problem is we don't want to go there.
We are not interested in reading through the documentation.
Yes. So that is something that when you're starting off, make a habit of looking into documentation first, and then maybe go to the community and other things.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will be helpful.
Okay, good that we talked about a few issues that freshers might face. And that these would help, I think, because it has already helped to me. Okay, very straightforward question, but very important question. What is the demand for front-end developers in the industry?
Okay.
So this is what most of them will be interested in, and we would like to hear your answer here.
Okay, so demand-wise, so whoever asks, I have a very standard answer for anything. In whichever field you are, right, you're good, you have demand.
Okay.
That's
if you're good in front end,
you'll always end up somewhere. Okay. And demand-wise, to be specific, there is a lot of demand. So now we are in digital era, right? Every business wants to digitize things. They want their digital presence. Okay. That is how they can market themselves, they can grow. Mm-hmm. So if you see, we are not in that era where we can buy things confined in only one place, right? Mm-hmm. So otherwise, earlier we had very small options that if I want something, I can only buy from my place. Yeah. Now with all the e-commerce websites,
quick commerce.
Correct. Yeah. It is shipped from various parts of the country and even world for that matter. So that is the kind of impact things have.
Okay. Why I specifically brought out this question is with all that AI coming in and things like that, people will have this misconception that this might be reduced, the demand might be reduced.
The efforts in development of a web application or a website will be reduced, maybe.
But not the people.
Might, but not not the demand, because we will have more problems. We will have a lot of things. Maybe we will get more efficient. Okay. Right? So that is something that will happen. But apart from that, I don't see, personally, because I've worked for so long, I don't see, I don't have that fear that it will take away my job. Okay. That is something that I do not have. So
AI is just going to make us efficient.
Yeah, it is going to make
at the end of the day, we are going to do the work.
Yeah, and also like we are creative. We have different ways of looking at things, right? Outlook should always mostly be in learning and being up to date with the technology. With AI, another challenge that front-end developers or aspiring front-end developers or any developer for that matter might face is the rapidly changing technology. Every day there is a new thing. And something that I would like to add here is, don't be under the impression that you should know everything that is ever existed on earth.
A very good point. So don't try to learn everything under the sun. Okay.
Yeah.
With regards to the front end development, there are so many things and then you don't know what to pick.
Yeah.
Know one thing and then she already mentioned no HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You are done. you are done. You can just pitch in and then do your contribution
Yeah.
everywhere else.
Correct, that is true. You learn ABCD first.
Yeah.
I don't directly jump into reading a lot of books because there are a lot of books,
Yeah.
right? So that is not how things work in general.
Mm.
So whatever it might be, I strongly feel that don't be under the impression that a lot of in software industry this is the problem. So usually like if there are teachers or other professions, right?
Mm.
So most of the things that they both talk, if two teachers meet, they know what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
In software industry, it happens that I meet a peer software developer who is doing something else totally in a
Yeah.
different tech stack, in a different deployment area.
Okay.
Then I might be lost.
Yes.
And initially, when I joined IT, when I spoke to people outside, I used to feel maybe I don't know things. But there are a lot of things for someone to know everything.
Yeah.
That is something that is the truth that I eventually learned.
Okay.
So this technology updates will be there. I'm not saying that you should not learn, but you should not be under the pressure of it.
Oh, okay.
You should learn something that's relevant, and that is when having strong basics always helps.
Okay.
So if you start off with the cutting edge things directly without knowing the basics, then it will be difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. So we'll wrap it up. It has been a wonderful conversation. Any final words for the viewers from your side? KS, being a front-end developer, or just being a KS, just being normal human. Just any final words of encouragement or advice?
Advice, I don't know if, yeah, I don't have anything specific to advise. All that I would say, and something that has worked for me in life, is always to take a step towards whatever you want. Try it. If you do not like it, then you can go with something else. But you don't try it, then you'll always have that in your mind that I never gave it a shot.
Yeah.
That should never be the case. And it's fine. The learning, it's never a waste. So, for
Yeah.
example, I learned something and then it will help you somewhere.
Somewhere, yes.
And it can happen that it will help you after 10 years.
Yes. That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
So,
so-
learning is never going to.
Yeah, so don't
die.
be in the agenda that I have to learn this so that I can land a 10 LPA job, or I will learn this so that I can get this thing done. Just learn.
Yeah. Just learn. Keep that learning mindset.
That's all.
Thank you so much, KS. It was a very good, nice conversation and invaluable, I would say, invaluable insights has been brought to the viewers. And thank you so much for your time. Actually, it's a Friday evening, guys, and she has been generous enough to give us this time and shared her experience, her learnings. I think that's going to absolutely help you more. So thank you so much, KS, for all that you have said and shared. So until the next video, bye bye to the viewers.
Thank you, everybody. All the best.
Bye bye, guys.